Here we are back in the water, casting off Navarre Beach into a deep trough just right off the beach. And the very first thing I want you to notice is how dirty the water is. It's going to be a little bit hard to see the dropper in the very far center background. You can see a faint shadow moving. And this water will actually get progressively cleaner the longer we're fishing here off Navarre Beach as the tide comes in. So you'll notice that the beginning of the video is going to look a lot different towards the end. The rig that I'm using is the Surf Pro Tackle float hooks, orange and gold. Gold is a color not used as often in surf fishing, but it is very attractive to fish. I just zoomed in on pesky critters that will steal your bait and bury them down in the surf. 2 olive snails. They'll grab your bait, envelop it, then bring it down deep, and then you won't have any bait. Here we go. What is this? This looks like we got ourselves a first object besides the olive snails, and that is a crab. I can't tell if it's a speckled crab or a different kind, but it is trying to go after my swivel, and you're not getting much off of that, buddy. What I need to do a lot more of while surf fishing is incorporating some cut bait on my droppers, especially during this time of year. You can see some Spanish mackerel. They will hit shrimp or fish gum or sand fleas, but they typically want some fish. So cut bait on your droppers. You may lose some fish because they got teeth. You'll catch more Spanish mackerel on set rigs by doing that. More Spanish mackerel coming in and out. That's a big one. Especially if you have a lure. If you got a lure, you can catch some of these bad boys in the surf right now. This is later spring. Water temperature is heating up, and these things are coming in close, as is the bluefish right now, surf fishing during the later part of the spring. You can see the dropper. Here's a Pompano coming in right at the dropper. He's going to take a swipe at the float hook. You can see the orange hook. Hard to see with this clarity. He took a swipe at it. It's in his mouth. He's trying to chew it. It's still in his mouth. Don't think he's hooked just yet. It's in his mouth. He's trying to crush it. And when we see him freak out, that's when he's hooked. All right, he's hooked. And remember, the perspective is that this is slowed down to 1/4 the speed. So all that eating in his mouth happened pretty quick, but looked slow to us. Yeah, he's hooked. He's trying to get away from this hookup, but he's not going to. That hook is in his mouth. You can see it towards the bottom. And look, we got a friend that saw the action, and we will see for the first time that I've ever used the fishing camera. This is the Weston Escape Cam underwater fishing camera. I'll leave a link in the description. Where to find it is that we have a double hookup on camera, and this is a first for me. Really cool to see that this action brought in another Pompano, and the other one is hooked as well. We'll see both fish here coming into frame, trying their darndest to escape the Surf Pro Tackle float hooks. And we're at the whim of the fish getting in and out of frame. I can't control that. I'm actually reeling this in as we speak. There's one. And the other one will come into frame here in a second. Really amazing to see a double hookup occur. There's the other one in the distance. You can barely see him. He's up higher in the water column. But we're going to play this out all the way to the beach and land this double hookup. They were legal. These fish were 12 to the fork. In the state of Florida, 11 to the fork is the minimum size you can keep. There is no maximum. Just a beautiful fish in the water. You see the olive colors, the silvers. This double hookup occurred. Typically when they occur is the action of one fish drawing in the other one to the other bait, and then it hooks up. So this guy's freaking out. I'm hoping we can see both in frame. The other one is way up in the water column, like I said. Hopefully we'll get in here and see both fish in frame. Unfortunately, we couldn't see both eats. We assumed, because of the other pompano coming in later, unhooked, that the action of the first pompano drew in the second pompano. But we get close and personal to seeing this fish come in towards the beach as I'm reeling in. Oh, I see two tails now. All right, there's the other pompano is right by the first pompano. That float hook just staying in the mouth, not losing the fish. Ate the entire float hook, chewed on it, got hooked. These fish have crushers in the back of their throats. It's more like a plate crusher. The black drum has more of a teeth type crusher in the back of their throats. There's the other pompano top right. Nope, that's actually a reflection. I've got 4 on. 4 pompano. No, that's the reflection. Come on in, buddy. Fun fight when it's 2. You always think you have just the monster fish, but these fish are fighting each other and they're fighting me. Speed this up just a little bit. This is half speed now. It should get to the surface and on shore rather quickly. Not much is changing in these frames, but we want that double hookup all the way to the beach. Again, I was stoked. You don't ever know when you're using these cameras. This one actually lasts 3 hours on one charge, so you can literally catch so much action. There they are. There's 1, and there's 2 right there. Double hookup, 2 pompano. Such an incredible shot of me as the angler and these fish coming in. I don't know if you can do even more of a picturesque photo than this right here. 2 pompano laying on the beach. Next cast in the water. Should be clearer this time. Every time we put the camera back, the water gets better, and you can see the dropper in frame towards the top middle. See it subtly moving, and you can really see the float hook. The orange in this clarity is a good color. The green color of the ocean and the clarity. Oh, we got this. What is this? Spanish mackerel in the background. Here comes a bunch. Passing up the bait, not because they're not hungry, it's because that needs to be a piece of fish or some kind of spoon or ES lure would work. Very cool to see these Spanish mackerel right at legal, nothing gigantic. Did not see these on top of the water. Usually they'll feed on some small fish and you can throw on them when you see the birds or them feeding, but didn't see it. Another cast off Navarre Beach. You can freeze frame and see what condos I'm by to see where I'm fishing, but don't do that to me. Usually people from this area know exactly where I'm fishing. And if you want to notice one thing too, there's a lot of feces, and those feces are from ghost shrimp. Tons of ghost shrimp poop out there. Another school of Spanish mackerel. I cast right back in the same spot with the escape cam by Weston Fishing. And if you're new to this channel, I have an extensive library of underwater fishing video. It is something I enjoy doing. I've changed my fishing style from what I've seen on the underwater fishing camera. It used to be the Go Fish Cam. They have gone out of business. Now the Weston Escape Cam is what I'm using. I have 2. I dedicate 1 rod to the fishing camera every time I go fishing. More Spanish mackerel. I don't know about y'all, but I do not like the taste of Spanish mackerel. It tastes very fishy to me. I love king mackerel. King mackerel is like a steak. Very, very good table fare. If you like Spanish mackerel, are you tasting the fishiness like I do? Do you have a special way to cook it? Leave a comment and tell me how you cook your Spanish mackerel. There is no shortage of Spanish mackerel in the surf to target and eat and have fun catching. I just don't like the way they taste. Another pompano coming in frame like a bat out of Hades. Already in his mouth, he actually spit it. Went after the bait first. Now the entire float is in his mouth with the hook. Back out again. Wow, this is unexpected. He's still testing it in his mouth. Not hooked yet. So we do see multiple attempts. Now he's hooked because he's freaking out. So if you notice that Pompano, they're testing these baits out. They're testing these droppers out. They're seeing if it is legit, right? And the way they do that is, number one is they see something. And number two is they smell something. Number three is they actually taste something. Look at that float hook in the mouth. Good shot of that. And then another thing is they texturize something. Is there something that feels like it should? So when they crush it, if it's not feeling like their normal fish that they eat or their normal bait that they eat, like a sand flea, a coquina clam, or a ghost shrimp, they're going to spit it. But they may go after it again like this pompano did 3 times. So the goal is to get them to stay. So I use baits that are super scented. Fish gum bait. I'll use OP bait soak, which is infused with synthetic ghost shrimp scent profile. I'll use sand fleas. I have tried coquina clams before. I actually caught my first pompano using a coquina clam wrapped like a sandwich with fish gum. And so these fish are used to feeding naturally in their habitat. And so their mouths can feel the texture. And that was taught to me by the sinker guy, Chip Brundage, of how important not only is scent, color, but also texture. He uses glass fishing beads. They'll click-clack in the mouth of a pompano. Check out his website to see that. And I really want to just have a plug out there for anybody who's watching this, anybody who's in the industry, anybody who's making videos. Always give credit to people who have taught you something. That is the right thing to do. Don't act like it's your idea that you came up with. Give credit where credit's due by name. If you've seen a video and if you've seen somebody else using something on the beach, give credit to that person. Even if you want to make a profit making something, give credit to somebody where credit is due. So thank you, Chip, for that piece of advice of texture being so important. Also, when we are catching fish from the surf, this guy's caught. He's coming in, and he is a keeper. He was about 11.5 to the fork. Hit the float hook by Surf Pro tackle. Another cast back in the surf. You can see the water is getting progressively clearer and clearer. So just because you start off fishing and it's nasty, once that incoming tide's coming in, which we were fishing an incoming tide, that was bringing the cleaner water in, and you see this transition as we are literally using the Weston Escape Cam down in the water. Again, you still that ghost shrimp poop. Slowing it down here. We got some more Spanish mackerel coming into frame. There's more Spanish mackerel today that I've seen on this video than any other species of fish. So that should tell you something. While you wait with your set rigs, and it was slow that day that we fished, why not sling something metal to catch a Spanish mackerel? That is a hardtail, also known as a blue runner. Huge school, only one hookup on the dropper. We're not going to see this play out, but he was caught almost immediately when he touched the float hook. So pretty good success. I also have another video where I use a soft float hook by Shellfish Gear. My goal is hopefully to carry both iterations of float hooks with my own colors and my own scheme by these two great companies. I first found the float hook watching a YouTube video by Pope 311 made on a Kale hook. I like a smaller profile float hook like these from Shellfish Gear and Surf Pro Tackle. You can check out their websites. You can find them on Facebook, and you can order these for your surf fishing arsenal. Another bluefish that time came right in. Oh, look at that. Boom. Not a giant one, but it looked like a giant one because it was so close to the camera. Now we have this transition. Look at the water now. Look how clear it has become just as we're fishing. This was a long day of fishing. This was, gosh, 7 hours. And so in a 7-hour period, this is towards the tail end, it became clearer and clearer and clearer. Now you'll be able to check out the action of the float hook in the frame. You can see how it's keeping the bait in the water column where the olive snails and the crabs cannot get it. This is actually full speed. There is a swimming action. Pompano Rich Vitalich, one of the really OGs on surf fishing rigs. He has surf fishing rigs at pompanorich.net. They're called safari rigs. A little crab coming in here. Hey, buddy. And he's the first one to really talk about this jigging action of the Pompano rig, and it attracts fish, right? Movement, scent, color, texture. I don't know about you guys, but when I see these puffer fish, they just look like they're not very smart, even though they could have an IQ of a fish IQ like Einstein. I just, in my mind, every time I see one under the camera, under the water, it's like, doo-dee-doo-dee-doo, doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. I've never eaten a puffer fish. Have you eaten a puffer fish? They're very good at picking off the OP bait soak right here in frame and swallowing it. But I don't necessarily know what they taste like. I know there is some toxins that they have. You have to be careful. But between me and you, I'm not going to eat anything that has the potential to kill me. I'm not going to have somebody prepare that for me. I'm not going to eat. I don't care that you tell me how amazing it could taste. I am not going to eat something that has the potential to kill me. Have you? If you've eaten a puffer fish, let me know how that thing has tasted and if it's worth it. All right, so after we're watching this puffer fish, he will come back, and he is actually going after the easiest bait to take off, which is the pieces of shrimp that are on there. One thing to communicate to you as a tip is that I don't feel or see this happening back at the shore. So he is cleaning off each one of my droppers every 15 minutes to 20 minutes. If it's slow out there, reel in your baits and check them. We had multiple times where we had no bait on our hooks. That's a tip. Second tip is if it's flat and you're using shorter rods, sometimes crab and the snails can still grab your droppers. If it's a flat day, you're going to want to reel in your rod and your rig, not all the way in. You're going to reel it in about 5 cranks just to get anything that could have buried that bait off. I have done that before, and sometimes you have probably felt reeling in your rod with the bait on a flat day of how hard it is, if you're not using Sputniks, to get your bait out of the sand. That's because it's been buried down by something that has immobilized your baits down below the seabed. So that tip is huge. Move it when it's flat, 5 cranks. Reel it in every 15 to 30 minutes when you need to check your bait. And this is just a great closeout frame of the float hook. Gold and orange. I'm going to zoom in here, let you see its action as we close it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Leave a thumbs up, leave a comment below, share this video, leave a comment if you've learned something, and join me right here next time when we Excite to Strike. God bless.